Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. This is the first of 3 uploads that you'll be seeing 6 p.m. every night, while I'm away with my mum. And the fantastic Joe from Leeds United The View has agreed to join me and chew the fat over 3 subjects that we'll be discussing. The first one being the top 5 Leeds players this season. Now, we haven't prepared anything. We're just going to have a chinwag. We're not going to say them in any particular order. Maybe when we've put out our picks for the top 5 players, we'll then put them in an order. But yeah, man, listen, I'll put an intro in here actually. So smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in. Make sure you subscribe to Joe as well and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next upload. And yeah, let's get into it. I don't care. It's 1-0. We're fucking down. 13th in the championship. The takeover happened as I said it would. People will be. Oh, when have we got Leeds? So, Jeff, come on then. Let's get into it. Top 5 players for Leeds United this season. We'll take it in as a whole body of work, okay? Because obviously we've had players that have dropped in and out of form, some that are injured now, for example. So we'll have to try and take it in. But let's start, I'll give you my, ultimate that has to be in there for me, right? I'm going to go Gruev, which again may seem like a wild take, but I just really, really like him. So for me, he has to be in that top 5. And of course, his body of work isn't as big as an Ampadu, isn't as big as a Rutter or whatever. But in terms of the impact that he's had in such a short space of time, for me, I think he's been phenomenal. And I guess the partnership between him and Kamara is better than the partnership of Kamara and Ampadu. I think there has to be a discussion around that, because as good as Ampadu was in there, they weren't putting up the numbers these two were putting up in terms of successful passes, etc. He's breaking records since Opta began. So I have to put Gruev in there. What do you want to give me some thoughts on Gruev, or do you want to give me your to be in this?
So he's the one that I'm struggling with because of the volume of games and trying to take the season as a totality. And this is, we're having this conversation pre-Plymouth the weekend. So you're right, though, about the combination between Kamara and Gruev. They have completed 785 passes of an attempted 824, which is a 95.3% accuracy combined, the two of them, which is nuts. You take into account the speed that Leeds are playing at the moment, the advanced nature that Leeds are. When they get the ball, it's forward football. The kind of pass that Gruev likes to do, I mean, he's very similar to Calvin in the promotion season, in that quarterback role where he has those lovely diags that he puts into the corners. His tackling is very David Batty-esque. He's got a lot of attributes that we love from different types of Leeds players over the years. But he hasn't played a huge amount of games in terms of the best of the season, and I've really struggled with this because I love him. I saw a post on a Leeds Facebook group yesterday called All Leeds, and they were calling him, the nickname they'd given him was the Conductor. I thought it was great. That's perfect name for him. It's a great name for him. Of the 5 that I picked, I have 2 players with a slash between them that I can't decide between, and Gruev is in that bracket. I completely see your point on why he would be in the team. He's not in my 5.
Okay.
And it's a toss of a coin between him and Dan James, for me. But again, look at the entire season. But I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Gruev. I think he's been an absolutely cracking signing, and ironically enough, when we get to other topics, he falls into those topics as well. So, he doesn't make my top 5, but I completely understand why you would have it. And I think if he had played for the entire season, he would definitely be one of the top 2, if he had been. But yeah.
No, that's fair. So who's your must in then? Who has to go in for you?
Joe Rodon.
Okay. Yeah.
I think his season is going on more important. I think.
Yeah.
I think it was a Square Ball or somebody said this the other day, where they said he celebrates clean sheets like goals. They're goals to him. And I keep going back to that comment that floats around of clean sheets with your titles, or in our case, clean sheets will get us promoted. And we've talked all year about Leeds winning games, and I keep going back to but we conceded a sloppy goal, and that sloppy goal should be since the turn of the year, one goal conceded. He's been immense, and he's a very important player, I think, as a right-sided centre back. When we've had to put left footers in that position, like when Stroke has played there, Cooper's played there, it just hasn't been as good as when Joe's been there in that right centre back position. I think he's been immense this season. I keep calling him the brick wall, and I used the analogy this morning of he's been the integral keystone in Daniel Farke's defensive wall. I think he's been massively, massively important, and he's starting to do some attacking stuff as well, breaking forward with the ball, breaking the lines of the press as well, and pushing the midfield and setting us up. So for me, Joe Rodon is first name on the team sheet for me.
Yeah, the keystone as well. I remember doing some work on a book that some people might know what I'm talking about, but it's about building an arch through which you will walk a free man. And one of the bits they speak about is the keystone, and it's the stone that holds it all together. And we were speaking on the final word the other day. Who's the one player that, if they were injured, would you go, oh no, panic stations? And we all agreed it would be Rodon in that moment. So Rodon definitely has to be in there. I think moving on, obviously we'll get...
Just before you do, just one thing on Rodon, because we've broken the cardinal rule and we've fallen in love with a lone player. We said we wouldn't do it after Ben White. We're doing it again. I think we've got a better chance of keeping it. We have to get promoted.
Yeah.
I think if you get promoted, you make that move. He fits Daniel Farke's style perfectly.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I don't... As good as Rodon is, and he's your, defend first, I think Ben White was always going to progress. Just because of the style of player that he is. He's great on the ball. He can play DM, plays at right back now more regularly than he does at centre back. Whereas Rodon's just a centre back, right? Do you know what I mean? So, and of course, there's a big age gap between the two. But yeah, I agree with you in terms of like Rodon sticks around for me. I think Rodon definitely sticks around if we get promoted. That is, of course. Feel this might sound mad. Like I'm just going to move further afield now and put in Summerville. Summerville has to go in for me. In terms of his goal contributions, absolutely phenomenal. He's key to everything that we do. I think him and Rutter as a partnership work phenomenally well. He can't have one way about the other, it seems. And one of the things that's most impressed me is his leadership qualities. Because, we were told that he wanted out. We were told that he needs to grow up. We were told all these things. And I, as a fan, fell for it at times as well. To think now... like when Nonto misses the other night against Swansea, he's the one telling him, come on, get back on side, keep your head up. He's only got 2 years on Nonto. So this season in the Championship under Farke has done him the world of good. And I was just saying on another podcast, a Premier League podcast I was on, Joe, that people need to be ready for when he returns back to the Prem, because we've seen flashes in the Prem. He gets that winning goal against Liverpool, for example. But a full season in the Championships, 46 games or there or thereabouts, to then come back up. He's going to be different gravy next time around in that league, I think.
Yeah, he's my top two. Yeah, if you look from a defensive perspective of Rodon, but from an attacking perspective, it's Cree. He's involved in everything, the assists, not just the goals, the assists. What is that, 21 goals or 20 goals so far this season, which is, with February? It's nuts, the amount of goals. He is going to the Premier League a very different player than left. If you think about the players in the Championship the Premier League clubs wanted last year, Guy Koresh is one of the top players there. He's outscoring Guy Koresh right now. He's gone off to Sporting Lisbon and is absolutely killing it over there as well. Summerville's phenomenal. And this, again, you're right, this thing about this story that we were sold about Willie's a good influence on Cree, but you said believe less and less from that person who said that. Yeah. The longer it's gone on. But he's been great. The attitude's been brilliant. You can see there's a bond between him and Daniel Farke. Farke is very quick to put the arm around the shoulder with him, have a chat with the pitch. They seem to react. There's always a hug when he comes off the park. There's never any histrionics or, drama when he gets taken off in games. And he went through his bad period this year. And we all kind of said, he's, not scoring goals anymore. But he was still contributing for the team. He was still working hard, still making chances. The goals are always going to come back. And he'll probably get another spell this year where the goals dry up a little bit. But that's not his main objective as a Leeds player. He's a winger. Goals are not his number one thing. Assists and getting involved in creating chances where other players are. But he's chipped in all areas. His defensive work, and I was super critical of him in the Premier League last year. We saw him, and a bit at the start of this season where Cree likes to go forward. He likes the pretty stuff. He likes the attractive stuff, but he will not go back and do the dirty work. This year, he has done that. He has been chasing back players. He has covered Firpo at times when he's been on that side. He's covered Archie on the right-hand side when he's been on that side. He's gone back and he's done the dirty side of the game as well, which is great to see as well. He's not afraid to put his body on the line. He's had lumps kicked out of him this year. Absolute lumps kicked out of him. He just gets up, gets on with it, you know. And there's more to come from him. The ceiling's very, very high. He hasn't even gotten near where his potential is going forward. If we can get him saying odd on their players to stop trying to force and move away from the club from us, that would be great if we could do that. But the fact that Creek came in the summer himself and said, I don't want to leave. He could have gone. He wanted to stay. He took the number 10 shirt last year, which was a big move. You know, he asked Liam Cooper, should he about taking it? And Cooper said, if you believe you're good enough to take it, take it. You know, got the reinforcement from the skipper. He is the number 10 in this team. He is the natural. I keep putting that meme up of, you know, the Spider-Man where you're rubbing the glasses and it's Rafinha, then Summerville. Yeah. The apprentice has learned from the master, and he's very much filling his boots right now. And next year, when there's more space, well, in the Premier League, you have way more space to play in. It's so compact in the Championship. We're the top dogs. Teams are trying to stop us from playing and him from playing. You go to the Premier League, they play their own game. They don't worry about us. They play their own game. And I think it suits him even better. I think he'll have an incredible season again next year.
Yeah, I think it's important to look ahead at it. Like, if we do go up, which I think we will, we need to start well, because that's, you know, I think sometimes there's a bit of arrogance from Premier League sides to not have to do much research on newly promoted sides, and then that's when you catch them on the fly. We've seen it with Bielsa, and then when they've gone, all right, actually we need to do some work around this team, we sort of got found out a little bit, if you like, you know, towards the end. Or we were easier to break down and play against, you know. We've seen that with the top sides when they were just drawing the centre-back out and then they were in, you know, because of the man-marking system. So that's the thing, that while we are in the infancy, if we do get promoted, that we need to capitalise early doors. So I've gone Gruyev, you've gone Rodon, I've gone Cree. Who from an attacking perspective? Oh, you don't have to go attacker. Who's another player that's... Yeah.
My third player would be Rutter, Georginio. He's, again, to how we play, especially since he's gone to number 10 position. And again...
He could add goals, Stuart. He could add goal. He's a £100 million player.
100%. And he will add goals. Because the issue with him, and the same thing somebody said on my streams today about he overcarries the ball, he gets caught in possession, he puts under pressure at times. So does Cree. So does William, you know. But that's young players, and that's decision making in the final third. That gets better with age. The more experience they get, the better they get. If you have somebody with a raw talent that Georginio Rutter has right now, and you start to refine that over the next year, the manager will be very important with that, the right manager. And Leeds, you know, if Farke does get the proper backing in, and that's always a question mark over Farke, but if he can prove himself as a manager in the Premier League, he's the right man, I think, to mould Georginio into the player that we think he can be, and a world-class player eventually. 35 million we paid, we all thought it was too much last year. It could end up being a drop in the ocean by the time we're finished with the player. So he's been brilliant. I was an attacker, I was a striker when I played, and it's funny that two of my top three, I'm going to talk about the defensive capabilities of them, because when Rutter was playing in the 9, the amount of times we saw him in our corner flag, in our final third of the pitch, running back and taking the ball off people and starting moves, was nearly every game, 2 times per game. He just, well, I've got the legs, I've got the stamina, I'll help out. The side before self stuff is there where he gets stuck in, he runs the channels, he runs back, he does the doggy work as well. And he's a fun player to watch, Joe. He's so fun to watch. He gets you off your seat, he puts a bit of excitement in it. We've had 2 years of just, I was going to say a word I won't say. We've had 2 years of a really, really poor football to watch. I'm enjoying watching him. I'm enjoying where we are now, you know, and he's been an instrumental part of this team. And I keep saying it, he attracts other players to him, which creates space for Cree, Nanto, James, Pirro, Bamford, whoever it is in the attacking players. So he's a very important part of this team as well, especially from an attack perspective.
Unbelievable. Well, if I'm putting Gruyev, I have to put Ampadu. Because I think at the start of the season we were all saying, oh, he's that good, you know, he deserves player at year, and then it was like, well, we just expect it now. And now I probably, even myself, catch myself thinking, I don't think he gets the flowers he deserved, because he's played so well in midfield. Could argue Gruyev's eclipsed him a little bit, but I think that situation, we've got to remember that it's because we're winning 7 on the spin and everything's going amazing. That you know, if Gruyev wasn't playing, Ampadu wasn't there, there's nothing to say. We still wouldn't be doing this right now, if I'm honest. Do you know what I mean? But Gruyev, you know, fair dues, recency bias has eclipsed him in a sense. But Ampadu, what he's given us, body of work up to, you know, there's still 15 games left, but you think about the way he started in midfield, to think now how he's performing at centre-back alongside Rodon. I was saying tonight on White Rose Rivals, whenever anyone's beaten on the wings, because that's it, like it's normally in behind or, you know, it never very rarely comes down the middle anymore because we've just got like two amazing players in them centre-back positions and midfield. Yeah, so in terms of balls in behind, like from a defensive standpoint, I'm never concerned anymore, Joe, because like I say, if it goes in behind Firpo, Ampadu's on the street, in behind Gray, Rodon's on the street, and I just think for Ampadu's full body of work in two positions, and for not to be any drop-off whatsoever, is amazing. To think that he's 7, 8 out of 10 in centre midfield, he then goes into centre-back, and he's 7, 8 out of 10 again. So for me, yeah, he probably will get Player of the Year, but he probably should deserve it, I think, but it's probably going to go to one of the attackers. But yeah, Ampadu, man, what a buy for 7 million, by the way, as well.
Absolute bargain. And this is the thing. We can be a bit quick to give out praise, but we can also be too quick to take it away at times as well. I think if you go back to the start of the season, I mean, this time last year we were all saying make Tyler Adams the club captain, you know. And you see the character of that player, you know, when you question.
So many tweets, my captain, hashtag.
I was the same, 100%. I was there.
I took it personal because I love Cooper, but yeah, anyway.
Yeah. But I want him to be the future captain. I didn't want to take off Cooper, but I thought he's the next captain of Leeds, you know. But saw what happened there. It's very much the player before the side with him. But it's Ampadu for what we've gotten. And again, this is the thing, and it was said at the start of the season, in every game, Ampadu was excellent. But somebody else was very good as well. And there's like, comments that are being made was, well, Ampadu's great every week, so we'll give it to this guy. Or Ampadu was very good every week, so we'll give it to this guy. And fully enough, it turns out, he wasn't picking up a lot of man-to matches because of that, because they were just being given out to other people, because he was just steady Eddie in the middle of the park. And I always describe Jerry Shackleton as like a 6.5, 7 out of 10 every single week. Doesn't do a whole lot wrong, but doesn't do anything spectacular. But it was a good kind of energetic player to have in your squad. Ethan Ampadu's a 7.5, 8 out of 10 every single week. 9 some weeks. You know, he's not just a consistent player, he's a very, very, very good player for us. He was phenomenal in the middle of the park for us, and he's been very, very good in the back line. I mean, the big thing about him going to the back line is you don't notice him in games. You don't notice him. The fact that you don't notice him means he's doing nothing wrong at all. He's not putting a foot out of place. He has been incredibly consistent. He is also my next player on the list as well. I'm right there with you, 100%. I think how Leeds were at the start of the season, if you don't have him in the middle of the park, I think we're probably we don't get the results we got at the start of the season. I think we could be in a very different position at this point. There is recency bias there as well when it comes to having Groove in there, but this is the point. This is a really good squad we've got now. We've got the depth we thought we wanted at the start of the season, and there's headaches there. There's players that can move around, and Fracker's got players that can play in multiple positions. Kind of what Bielsa used to do is like, I want a player who can play 2 or 3 roles, so if someone's out, I can just, you know, move a jigsaw piece over here and put another one in there and everyone's fine. Ampadu's distribution is excellent, his tackling is great, and when the team needs a bit of, you know, giddy up and, you know, rah-rah kind of stuff in the middle of the park. We did it against Swansea during the week. There's a moment where a ball just needs to be smashed against somebody to get everyone off their feet and go wake up. And the second half, he just runs into a player and absolutely leathers the ball out of play, and he's just like, get up, come on, pick it up again. So he's massively important to this side as well. A bargain at 7 million quid. Yeah, I think he's got again another player Daniel Farke trusts, and you could see at the start of the season he was the player he trusted. He wasn't sure about everybody else, but Ampadu he had 100% faith in, and the fact that he's played nearly every minute of every game, he's a Matthias Klick of this team in this championship season.
The mad thing is as well, if you were to ask the majority of fans who's the most experienced within the side, Ampadu gets a nod, right? Ampadu's still, what, 25?
I know, right? They're out of exciting.
In terms of games played, he is obviously the most experienced, but the reason I bring that up is he's nowhere near his ceiling, Joe. Do you know what I mean? In terms of what more he'll gain during that time. And you think about number 6s, Rice went for 100 and odd million. Chelsea bought Caicedo and Enzo like 100 and odd million. And you just think you've let him go for 7. Listen, in a couple of years, we might be raking in that cash for him. I don't know. But listen, I want these players to stay, but there is something in that. We've got 5 players now.
CDMs, sixes
No,
in the world that can tackle and distribute. Like there's a Sergio Busquets who could just go and burst everybody on the park and pass the ball 5 yards. But they have the distribution that Ampadu has as well, and the pace that he has, and he's got a couple of goals this year as well. Which he's added that to his game, and that's something else he has to continue to work on. But yeah. Look, I mean, he's hugely important to this team, and I think you're right. I think in a couple of years' time, if he continues the way he's playing, if Leeds continue the way that they are, if we get the Premier League and 49ers plan comes to fruition and Leeds push on the Premier League, I think Ethan Ampadu will become. Farke won't forget what Ethan Ampadu is doing for him this season. Farke's very big on loyalty, and I think he'd be loyal to him as well.
100%. We've got 5 players there. I'm conscious we want to try and rank the 5 best players in the squad, but there's still some people that we need to put in there. We need to have a conversation about before we lock in. You mentioned Dan James earlier. Let's talk about it. I mean, look, start of the season, I didn't want him anywhere near it. Said he wasn't good enough. Said he couldn't cross a ball to save his life. Said he couldn't finish to save his life. His decision making was off. His legs don't work with his brain. His legs are too fat. All these things that I now have to hold my hands up and say, do you know what, Daniel? You proved me wrong. Both of them. Daniel Farke coached him, and Dan James obviously has to take a lot of the praise as well, because he can't have been in a good headspace, having been at Leeds, so Fulham, then coming back. What a season he's had. And again, we might forget because he's been injured. But everything that I mentioned he can't do has done in spades to a really, really good level. I mean, his ball's been exceptional. Full width from Bamford. Unreal.
We should I'm a big fan. I'm currently wearing the pink jersey with Dan James stuck on the back of it. I'm a big fan. I like the guy. I like the kid. And I've always liked him. And I go back to the years that we had him under Bielsa, and people gave him an awful lot of stick when he was playing up front, and you're like, yeah, but he's not a striker. And he's very clearly not a goal scorer. You're not an instinctive goal scorer. But he's doing the job for the team because there's nobody else to do that. And I keep going back to this. Either side before self as a mantra the club lives by, or it's a marketing tag that's stuck on a wall when we stick Max Fober and Robin Koch beside it to go, new signing. It means nothing. It either means everything or it means nothing. And for me, Dan James was very much and has always been the side before self player. And I felt so sorry for him during the Bielsa years. Yes, people get frustrated with him. To write the player off, we tried to sign him under Bielsa. Manchester United went and spent city money bringing him in. And he did all right for them, funnily enough. A lot of their fans think he did okay. And then he goes back to Leeds, and because Marsh doesn't use wingers, and I felt really bad. I thought he was very badly treated at the start of last season. He bought a house in Leeds. His missus was pregnant. There was, planning to settle down in Leeds. And then he shipped off down to London on loan to Fulham, who don't play with wingers really either. So didn't really play for them much as well. But he's come back. Now, the caveat to all of this is we're in the Championship. And we know Dan James can do it in the Championship because he did it with Swansea in the Championship. But what I would say this is, there are subtle changes to his game that Farke has done. The biggest one being, when Dan James gets a chance to shoot, he always shifts the ball to the right, and then he hits across the ball. And what tends to happen is he slices the ball and it hooks away from the goal. Farke has brought him in 5 or 6 yards. He's narrower now when he's making these runs. So when he does shift that ball and hit it, it tends to go in the corner. So there's a little subtle change there to what that Farke has worked on. I remember Jermaine Beckford saying on one of the LUTV streams as well that he has spent some time in Thorpe Arch, Dan James are working on finishing stuff for him as well. So James is clearly looking at that as well. And again, he's not an old player. Dan James is in his early 20s still as well. So he has lots of time still as well. I agree that sometimes his legs are faster than his brain is. But when you're that fast, it's very hard for your brain to keep up. But he is very fast. But he, even if he's not having a great game, he occupies a fullback. Because you're not going to give him space. You're not going to go tearing up the park knowing that Dan James is in your space. Because if he does get a run, you're not catching him. You never catch him. So he does occupy players' brains as well and on a park. So he's my 5th one with Ilya Gruev. I have them dead level. I just don't know who. And I really can't decide on one because I love Gruev. I think he's been brilliant. But Dan James is a bigger body of work this year. He has had goals and he has had assists. He was the PFA Player of the Month for January this month as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's picked up awards this year as well. He's got man of the matches for Leeds as well. He's having a terrific season. I think he's I'm going to say kid because I'm 42 now and he looks like he's 10 still.
Yeah, he does.
I think he's a really good kid. I think he's got a really good attitude. I think he's doing the right things for Leeds. And I think he's a very much a confidence player. If the fans get behind Dan James, I think you'll see the best out of Dan James. I think he's got hopefully a long career at Leeds.
Yeah, look, obviously this is a step to the Premier League and I think there'll be a lot squad rotation, I think. I don't think we'll see the same 11 week in, week out. I think we'll bolster out the squad maybe. And
I think I might be surprised at what 11 we see next year. I think we'll be surprised at what players come in next year. I don't think we'll look at this and say, yeah, this team is good enough for the Premier League. It might be. It very well might be. But we know the gap between this and the Premier Division. It's a better side than we had last year by a mile. I trust these players an awful lot more than I trusted the players last year. The work rate is a hell of a lot higher than it was last year. But there is that question mark of, do you just sit with this squad and add one or two? Probably going to need a goal scorer number 9. I think that's We're probably going to need another centre back because Cooper's probably going to move off at the end of the season. So there'll be some changes that will happen. Bill going will probably bring some Conor Roberts might be permanent, or Leeds will bring the right back. But there will be some subtle changes to this team. But I think we might be surprised at some of the lineups we see next year. I think it could be a very different looking Leeds team at times next year. No disrespect to the players this year, by the way.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
So, I mean, I guess you could argue we've been too sentimental for a few seasons, so it's, I guess, time to come away from that, I guess. But we've got 6, so we've got Gree, Rodon, Cree, Rutter, Ampadu, James. Is there anyone else that you want to add in? Because I've got one.
I think Glenn Kamara has been very, very good.
That was the one. I don't
my
it's a flowers.
I have history here, Joe.
Yes, that's fair.
I'm not the kind of person that makes a bold statement on Twitter and then doubles down on it. I've been proved wrong by Glenn Kamara in spades. Now, my comments on Glenn Kamara at the start of the year were based on, I have friends in Scotland that are Rangers fans, and which is odd for an Irish person, but I do. And I asked them about him, and they said when he's interested, he's excellent, but when he's not interested, he can be a very average player. And he was barely in the Rangers squad for the last 2 years. He wasn't involved in it at all for pre-season this year. And that to me says, is this the kind of player we really want to be banking on if he's not playing for in a Scottish Premier Division side where it's a 2-team league? But he has been incredible. His passing accuracy is in the 90% as well. And if he could add goals, and he did at Rangers, he got a couple of goals there, but if he could get some goals, there's a box-to-box number 8. But he has proven me wrong, proven a lot of people wrong as well, but he has been phenomenal for this team this year. And it is an injustice that he's not probably in the top 5, but there's so many really good players, and that me and you are pretty much bang on the same players for that top 5, which says something, but he is very close to that mix as well. I think he's a very important player. I think the thing with Glenn Kamara is we're possibly seeing a little bit of stamina catching up with him a little bit at times in games now where he starts very well, again he starts to drift out, but not his fault, no pre-season. And that pre-season is hugely important to build your stamina for the entire season. You don't do the work during the year that you do in pre-season. That hard graft work during the pre-season is tough. It's horrible pre-season. I hated it. As a player, I couldn't stand pre-season. As a coach, I loved it, but I hated it as a player. He didn't have that, and that will catch up. The amount of games, but I think Farke has done a good job of bringing him in and out of the team when he has to as well. So we're getting the best out of Glenn Kamara, and then Farke is able to take him out, push Archie in there, bring Conor Roberts on right back, and it's working. It's working really well. So Glenn, you're right, doesn't get the flowers he deserves, and deserves an awful lot of flowers.
Yeah. There seems to be a real want from certain sections of the fan base to get Gray in midfield, and get Gray in midfield now, do it now. And the way that
one of our own is always got to be there.
100%, but it's always like, if Kamara out to get Gray in, and it's like, just give the lad time. He's 17, and Kamara is smashing it. So let's not rush it.
Archie's 11 years away from his prime. 11. He's got time. Glenn Kamara's got 3 or 4 more years of his prime left. So enjoy it while it's there. You've got plenty of time with Archie, and Archie will no doubt take somebody's position in the future.
But 100%. And listen, there'll be people watching this now saying like, Gray, top 5. But I think for me and you and people know I'm a massive Gray fan. Yeah. But if we're talking about top 5 players in the squad, who's the most important player within the squad? I don't think Archie is that yet. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Joe, I think with the names we've mentioned, Gruyev, Rodon, Cree, Rutter, Ampadu, even James Kamara, they're much more pivotal, I think, to what Leeds United do than Gray. You know, you can swap Gray with a Roberts. You could have swapped Gray with a Spence, and it still all work fine, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Archie's doing very well. He's had some really, really good games at right back, considering he's a 17-year-old and he's not a right back. He's had a very good... I can go back to the Scubal interview that I did at the start of the year where he said...
I use it.
Yeah. But to get that insight, it's to get that understanding of... There's nothing unusual about a young player playing out of position, you know? But But he's been very good. I keep going back to the Preston game, seeing the difference between away at Preston where Liam Miller gave him an awful time. And then a couple of weeks later, he comes to Elland Road and Miller gets 10 minutes to start the game, but then Archie's got him in his pocket for the rest of the match. And there's growth. That's growth in the player. Archie's great. I love him. I love that he's starting to find a bit his flair now. He's definitely found a level. He's definitely looking a hell of a lot more confident in himself. You see him flicking balls over people's heads. And
he knows better than the opposition.
He does now.
Yeah, he knows. He knows. Yeah.
I always said this, and last year was one. Sam Green was the player that I used to use as the example for this. Every player needs that moment where they can go, yeah, I can do it at this level. Sam Greenwood had it last year against Bournemouth where he pinged the ball in the top corner, and he was like, and then all of a sudden I saw a different look in Sam Greenwood, looking for the ball an awful lot more, not hiding as much. Archie's the same. He's kind of eased himself into the season. He's done the minimum that he has to do. Not a bad term when I say minimum. It is in he's done his job. Box ticked, move on. Now he's doing more than that because now he's like, yeah, I am better than you. And yeah, I am better than this level. And yeah, I am what people say. Yeah, I am a generational talent. And he is that. He is all those things. And my cautiousness with Archie is I see similarities to Sam Byram. And I don't want us to do what we did with Sam Byram because we broke Sam Byram. We broke Sam Byram. We played him far too often when he was far too young.
We're him now though, bro. We're fixing it.
Yeah, he's finishing the story, Joe. He's finishing the story.
Yeah. And I like that. The last time he played this many minutes or this many games was Paul Leeds before he made his move to West Ham and Norwich and that. So it's like, forget everything in between. We broke him. We're now
these two bits. Together, yeah. And the goal he got this year, the last goal he'd scored was for Leeds. So nothing in the middle. So yeah, I'm just cautious that like we've got a really good player. Let's make sure we have him as a really good player for a long time. Let's go easy with him. Let's manage him. And Frack is doing the right job. But it is hard for a man to look at a player like Archie and go, I'll take him out. You probably kind of do that because you're like, he's doing really well. He's a good player. Keep it in the team, you know. But yeah, Archie's been great. This is the thing. You're asking to pick a top 5. Willie Gnonto's been excellent the last couple of weeks. You could throw Willie in there. If you're going to go with the recency stuff, you could throw Willie in there. Fairbo's having a fantastic attacking season. Usually keep saying attacking, but he is having a good season, right? He's in a very good season. You've got Kamara, you've got Groove, you've got Ampadu. Stroud, he was having a really good season before he got injured. Bamford's been really good in the game. So you've got 6 starts, 4 goals, 1 assist. You know, numbers stack up. So to pick 5 of them, we're probably picking the 5 most consistent players in terms of games played, pretty much. And that's where the Elite Groove conversation, Dan James, because they both
and
that's where.
And looking at this, we've got 7, right? We've got 7 that we've really picked out. I'd be happy to say to Gruev, yeah, the body of work's not there yet. Amazing's recency bias, but do you make the top 5 over the course of the season? No, because you were introduced to it late. So we strip out Gruev, yeah. We're then left with Rodon, Cree, Rutter, Ampadu, James, and Kamara.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Now, how do we rank that? Do we rank it like that?
I've ranked it like that. I've ranked it Rodon, Cree, Rutter, Ampadu, James. But like, if you're put on a yardstick, there's millimeters between them. Like millimeters. Like if you were to go like this is the top 10, the top 5, they're all here. They're all here. You know, back to back nearly.
Yeah, this might be controversial, but I would take James out of the top 5.
Okay.
I would replace him with Kamara.
You could do that. This is back to picking the best 11 we have. Like, absolutely. And again, if you did that, I wouldn't disagree with it because I think Glenn's been fantastic this year. Absolutely.
Yeah. Do we have it in that order? So Kamara in 5th, Ampadu in 4th, Rutter in 3rd, Cree in 2nd, Rodon in 1st.
That's what I have. But again, are we giving Ampadu the credit he deserves sticking him in 4th? That's the thing. Again, we're back to the thing of going, well, he's very, very good. But these lads have been good as well. We'll give it to them. Going on here. So, yeah, look. I feel
maybe it's I almost feel Cree should be 1st.
If you go on the goals and assists that he's put in, yeah, but then Dan James comes back in there because of goals and assists that he's chucked. Because he's got what 10 goals and 7 assists or something like that. So, and Joe Rodon as the list is on the top for me because I keep going back to that. If you keep a clean sheet, you've got a chance of winning again. You can see goals, you might lose, but if you keep a clean sheet, you've got a chance. You at least pick up points if you keep clean sheets. So that's why But again, If anyone had a different 5 in their mind, I probably wouldn't disagree with any of them.
So we've picked the top 5: Rodon, Cree, Rutter, Ampadu, Kamara. I want you to order it, okay? Or if you disagree with our top 5, put your own in. I just think if me and Joe, the way we talk, if we try to put that into a top 5, we'll be here all night. So Rodon, Cree, Rutter, Ampadu, Kamara, in our opinion, are the 5 most integral players in the squad this season. We want you to order them from 1 to 5. And yeah, thanks for watching. And there'll be another one out tomorrow. So smash a like on this video. Subscribe to mine and Joe's channel. Get your comments in and, of course, hit the notification bell. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.